should I switch to more expensive DDR5 in 2022 Core i5-12400F versus Ryzen 5 5600X in the TG test? There is no doubt that Intel has managed to release one of the most successful series of processors in history. In fact, we didn't even get a 50% performance increase compared to the 10th generation, but in this case we are talking about a breakthrough that, against the background of competition with AMD, allowed us not only to prove our worth, but also to break ahead in many indicators. It was not without annoying mistakes, when due to the software features of Lenovo for some time there were difficulties with launching games, but the unpleasant episode ended, and there are huge prospects and excellent sales ahead. In addition, there was a huge fly in the ointment called a shortage of DDR5 RAM. Moreover, the new generation of RAM turned out to be much more expensive than the previous one, which means that this point should be taken into account when planning a budget when buying a computer. Note that often professional reviewers act as follows: take the Ryzen 5 5600X and run it on DDR4 RAM, and then build the system on a Core i5-12400F with an expensive motherboard and DDR5 RAM. And where are the savings here? Today we will find out how much slower the Core i5-12400F is with two different memory lines, and the guys from the Testing Games channel will help us in this. The tests were conducted in a working resolution of 1080p, and the powerful GeForce RTX 3080 was chosen as the video card. Admittedly, there is a difference between DDR4 and DDR5, but it is not as critical as is commonly believed. That is why, if you are building a system for yourself, you can limit yourself to less expensive and scarce DDR4. But you can't help but notice that this difference allows you to get closer to the more expensive Ryzen 5 5600X processor. This may be important for test bloggers or enthusiasts, while for ordinary users the difference will not be noticeable. If you are not going to count FPS in every game, then feel free to take the kit on DDR4. We have to admit that the newer RAM does not yet provide the expected performance increase. It should also be taken into account that the tests were conducted with a GeForce RTX 3080 video card. If you were using a GeForce GTX 1050 Ti, you wouldn't notice the difference at all. But the owners of the Core i5-12400F most often have just such a video card, or a little faster. As for the confrontation with the Ryzen 5 5600X, here you need to understand one simple truth: the Core i5-12400F is more than $100 cheaper, which means it is much more profitable to build a computer from scratch. If you already have an AM4 motherboard, then it's easier to spend $300 plus on the Ryzen 5 5600X, which will immediately move you to the big leagues with minimal costs.